Hey folks, it's Paul here from ImpulsiveCulinarian.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to make the most incredible meatball recipe. So guys, whether you're making meatballs because you want to put them in a spaghetti sauce or you want to have them all on their own, I'm going to show you how to make the most incredible, delicious meatballs you've ever tried. Guys, this one is a fail-safe recipe. I guarantee you all your guests are going to like it. Great for the whole family, kids included. Kids of all ages. So a lot of people feel that in order for meatballs to be really flavorful, they should be comprised of at least 2 different types of ground meat. I would agree, and the recipe that I'm going to show you is based on a traditional meatball recipe, meaning that it's going to be using ground beef and ground pork. Hey, if you've got a butcher that can provide you with all kinds of these exotic ground meats like bison or whatever, by all means, feel free to make it your own. But the recipe I'm going to show you today is based on a traditional meatball recipe. So here's what you need. You're going to look to get yourself 1 pound of ground beef, preferably organic, 1 pound of ground pork, also preferably organic, 1 cup of grated cheese. That can be dairy-free or not, depending on what your family is used to eating. 2/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs. Guys, if you want to make your own breadcrumbs, I highly recommend get yourself 2 slices of bread. Usually a slice of bread yields 1/3 of a cup of breadcrumbs, so 2 slices should do the trick. You're going to need 2 eggs, preferably organic, 1 clove of garlic, very finely minced. You're going to need a teaspoon of kosher salt and some fresh ground black pepper to taste. There's an optional ingredient, guys. If you have the chance to find this, I come from Montreal, so it's no problem finding it here, but we want to include in this recipe a 1/2 tablespoon of Montreal steak spice. There's a lot of steak spices out there in your spice rack at the grocery store. Be sure to get Montreal steak spice. I promise you, it's worth it. Let's make us some meatballs. Meatballs for spaghetti, on their own, whatever you want to do with them. Meatballs are just fun, right? Any time of the day. Breakfast too. So as in most of my videos, let's start with a big mixing bowl. Ta-da! Get your pound of ground beef and ground pork into the mixing bowl. So next you want to get a cup of grated cheese. Okay, so in our family, we're dairy-free. So we've got this dairy-free cheese product that we use. It's supposed to simulate mozzarella flavored cheese. Now, if you can eat dairy, you can use any kind of cheese. I recommend like a strong cheddar if you like a really cheesy taste. You can use anything else, like a firm cheese, anything that you can grate. So get a generous cup of your cheese into the mixing bowl. Next thing to go in is your breadcrumbs. We always have a bunch of these in the freezer. I stock up when I'm making bread. I usually take the crusts and make a whole bunch of toasted breadcrumbs. If you're making them from scratch, very good idea. You want to take a slice of bread per pound. So 2 big slices of bread should do the trick. Put those in your toaster and stick them in a food processor for a little while. Otherwise, if you're taking them from a supply, 2/3 of a cup. Next, get a couple of organic eggs and put them in there. Go organic. Go organic! Okay, then get yourself a nice fresh clove of garlic, mince it up as fine as you can, and get that in the bowl. Then, of course, a teaspoon of kosher salt and as much freshly ground black pepper as you like. Okay, I know I listed this as an optional ingredient, but this is a must. You have to find this. Montreal steak spice. Please, accept no substitutes. This is not a product endorsement. I'm not getting paid to talk about this stuff. I'm a Montrealer. I've been using this forever in steak marinades and all kinds of different meat combinations. This is a really magic ingredient. Don't just settle for the regular steak spice. Find Montreal steak spice. Did I say a 1/2 tablespoon? Oh, maybe I meant a whole tablespoon. Oh, there's a delicious bunch of ingredients. Can't wait until this is all nice and combined. Okay, time to get your hands dirty. Mix it up. And there you go, meatball mixture all combined. It's very important now to take a break and have some wine. Cheers. Okay, so as far as portion size for your meatballs, hey, you're in control. You can make them as big or as small as you like. The smaller they are, the more work it is. You got to make them all. So I recommend, as a starting point, you use, this is a 1/8 of a cup measure, okay? It's 2 tablespoons. If you can eyeball it, that's fantastic. I like to use these to make them consistent, especially when you're making big batches. So start off with some wet hands and get rolling. Every 3 or 4 meatballs, rinse your hands, get them nice and wet again. Okay, once I got my mixture all rolled up, what do I have here? I got a baker's 3 dozen, and even 37. So That's a pretty good batch. Now I get ready to fry these up. So per pound of meat in this recipe, if you're making a large batch, you can count on having around 18 meatballs per pound. So in this recipe, 2 pounds, 36 meatballs, plus I got a little bonus guy. So if you're making large batches, it's good to know how many you're gonna have in advance. So now that those are all rolled up, get yourself the largest non-stick frying pan that you've got and put it on medium-high heat and let that warm up. Also, you want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Okay, so the goal is to brown these in the frying pan and then finish them in the oven. That's why we're preheating to 350 right now. So the heat that you want to set this to on your non-stick pan, I recommend that you put it to medium-high, just around 6 out of 10 on the dial, because you want to brown them, not cook them all the way through. So while your pan is warming up and your oven is preheating to 350, get yourself a baking sheet, preferably the large one. This is a 17 by 11.5. If you don't have this large one, you can use the two standard size, 10 by 15. A couple of those should do the trick. Whichever size you use, line it with a piece of parchment paper. Okay, now that your pan is nice and hot, get a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Put a tablespoon or so in the pan. So browning meatballs, it's kind of like when you're doing braised beef. You don't want to crowd the pan with all of your 36, 37 meatballs. You want to leave some space in between. That way they're going to brown really nicely. So I recommend doing them in batches, probably around 10 to 15 at a time. You be the judge depending on the size of your pan. One way to keep that nice round shape is to use a spoon and just sort of push them around until they're brown on all sides. Okay, so in this large non-stick skillet, I'm doing a dozen meatballs at a time, and you can see they've gotten nice and brown, and I think they're about ready to get into my baking pan. The idea here is not to cook them through, but just to give them a nice brown crust so they're ready to bake. So as each of your batches of meatballs has a nice brown crust all over them, transfer them from the frying pan into your parchment-lined baking dish. If needed, add a little bit more oil and rinse and repeat. Oh, that smells so good. Okay, third and last batch. Okay, when your batches are nice and brown, space them evenly on your baking tray and put them in the oven to finish off around 20 minutes or so. 37 brown meatballs ready for the center rack. 20-minute timer and go. If only there was something I could do while I'm waiting for 20 minutes. Okay, so at 20 minutes, you want to get a guinea pig out of the oven. Don't take out the whole thing just yet. Take out one. Get some tongs. Okay, so the goal here is to make sure that you don't have an undercooked meatball. So you want to slice into that, open it up, and just make sure that there's no pink color in the middle. And you can see that this is nice and cooked all the way through. So I'd say they're all ready. You might as well take out the batch. Not to mention that the guinea pig is also a good taste tester. So take your meatballs out of the oven and let them cool on the stovetop for a good 5 to 10 minutes before you handle them. You can freeze these, you can pop them right into your spaghetti sauce, serve them as is, whatever you see fit. My name is Paul from ImpulsiveCulinarian.com. I hope you liked this video, guys, and if you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel. There's more to come. One a week, minimum, more if I can swing it. And in the meantime, I just want to say, cheers. See you in the next video. Maybe another taster. That's a good meatball right there. A little bit hot though, one bite at a time. Oh, so good. I might have to make a spaghetti sauce. Not tonight. Cheers.